Sorry. Okay, well, welcome those who are here. And we want to welcome Peter and Emily. Thank you both for being here. And Doral is excused. He's recovering from surgery, so we certainly wish him well. And so, in light of the conversation, I will, can I get a motion to enter closed session? Or actually, a motion to amend the agenda?
Yeah.
And then a motion to enter
I'll make a
session.
motion to amend the agenda to go into a closed session.
I'll second it.
Okay, that's a motion by Councilmember Hilliard and a second by Councilmember Malkovich. So closed session is a roll call vote, right, Jody?
Yes.
Okay, Councilmember Hutchins?
Yes.
Councilmember Lund?
Yes.
Councilmember Hilliard?
Yes.
Councilmember.
Yes.
Okay, then we are entering closed session. Thanks for coming all the same, Sherry. We should be done in about an hour if you want to. Okay, now let's jump into item 2. Hey, Kirsten, how are you? Request for a change in zoning. Wayne, is this you that's going to be discussing this, or? So, and is it pronounced Flannery? Flannery? So I guess they're not represented here, but
They are not. Bryce Flannery is Sierra Pack's father,
Oh,
and he submitted the documentation requesting a change in zoning. And this would be a formality of the city council to move it to the planning commission for their public hearing and recommendation.
okay, so this is not approving it, it's
No.
just kicking it back to the planning commission.
Yes.
Did
Okay.
they articulate at all why the move? Because everything around them's R1, right?
Some of it is.
Okay, so there is some R19 there.
There is not.
So there's no R. We're seeing a lot of shifts from, R1 to R19.
I believe his comment to me was the driveway setback for an R119 was a little bit more lenient. How close it could be to the property line. He only intends to have it, the 1.94 acres, be 2 residences.
2 residences, so he is trying to drop it down.
so
below
is
the
he
R-
trying
the
then
1
to
acre.
have a flag lot then? Because those
No,
are those
100-foot
big lots.
frontage on each one.
Oh, just a very skinny, long line. Skinny ones. Okay. Because I was wondering about that as
Frontage.
as they were trying to divide it, if he was trying to make a flag lot or, but so only 100 feet across the front, and then 2 driveways that would come in. Interesting.
Flashing
Okay.
love you signs to your wife.
Mayor, we've noticed that
Well,
when your
my
beautiful
daughter
wife
is
shows
visiting
up.
from the Pacific Northwest too, so
Oh.
yeah, we're
Well,
teaching
Which-
her
which
about
city?
civic responsibility. What was
We-
Which
that?
city?
Just out, well, I don't know, just outside of Seattle.
Yeah.
we've just noticed the meeting clips faster when she's here, so
Yeah,
that's why we're excited.
And I'm appreciative of that as well.
Whenever she shows up, we're happy.
So when all your friends say, "What did you do when you were in Utah?" and you'll say, "I went to city council meeting."
Yeah, and,
We know how to have fun in the Blue Hills.
yep.
The dad will owe you.
Exactly, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Well, you missed the change in zoning request, but there's still big items coming, so, all right.
So we're
unless-
moving to send this to the planning commission.
Yeah,
Okay, I move.
well, but
we're
not there yet.
Oh,
We will, but,
oh yeah, I forget. This is just work session still.
yeah. So if no further questions
So-
on that, we'll jump to item 3, February 2024 financials. Any comments? Chris, I don't know if you,
We could do 3, 4, 5, and 6, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to walk us through anything that you feel is germane, and
And
then,
the year's kind
are
of
there any
slow,
questions?
and looks like a lot of snow, there's not a lot going on in the city because the road.
Kind of hard to hear you, Chris.
Yeah, I think Jody's turning the volume up.
Or maybe your microphone isn't close enough.
Will you give us a sound check?
So, can you hear me now?
Not very
Not
good.
great.
Just go ahead.
You'll just have to lean in.
Is he only coming from the TV?
Right.
I'll lean in a little bit there.
That's better.
Yeah, there you go.
That's
Okay,
better.
so, so January, February, March are usually typically very slow months, just because we're not doing roads, the parks shut down. The only thing is there's a lot of snow. This year, we didn't need to purchase any additional salt. Matter of fact, we're going into next year with a good amount of salt. Thanks, Ben, for sending me that information.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's kind of quiet. Things will be changing as, I don't know if Ted's presenting tonight, anything like that, but we're starting to get quotes back in and costs for some big projects coming up.
All right. Any questions for Chris? Okay. Yeah, so that takes us all the way down to item 6. Actually,
Included
that
next,
includes
yeah.
6, yeah. So item 7, large purchase requests and sale of surplus equipment. Ted, are you leading this one?
Yeah. Money man. So, one of the things we want to just bring up to the council, we've been talking about for a while about getting a new compact loader for the city. It's one with a telescoping bucket, gives us a little bit more versatility in what we can do throughout the city because it's a rubber tired front end loader, but we can also get a snowplow attachment with it. Pretty decent snowplow attachment. It allows some flexibility in how we do our snow plowing too. So we've been talking about that. We do have some quotes back on that. I believe that's being looked at, I think, by the financial committee. But along with that, we've also looked at our skid steer because this front end loader could replace our skid steer as well.
Assist.
So Chris looked up the remaining balance on our skid steer we've been leasing. The buyout on that is roughly 35,000, 36,000, and it's looking like it's booking right now for 50,000 plus to sell it. So part of the discussion is, and Chris can probably speak better to this, is do we purchase the skid steer if we go ahead with a front end loader and then sell it to make some money to help go towards the front end loader? I don't remember, Chris, I think the discussion was if we do, we kind of have to do that in a budget year. And maybe Chris knows that we couldn't like buy it and hang on to it for a long time. Just it may not work out through the financials. Yeah. So we'd have to do it kind of within the budget cycle, but maybe Chris, am I stating that correctly?
Yeah, just to make it easier, if we purchase the skid steer after July 1, then we could almost keep it through the season and just let the few snowplow drivers try both tractors out and then sell the other one. It's what I'm understanding is that most of them are wanting the bigger loader, but there's still a few that maybe want the smaller skid steer. But where we have so much equity in skid steer,
Some are really emotional.
For the record, I'm passionate about both.
oh, okay, all right. I wasn't
There's
saying-
no anti-loader in me. Just pro both.
What was the price for the lease of the front end?
It's about 16,000, and we're currently about, what was it, 10 or 11 for the skid steer,
That was closer to 12.
the front end.
It's gonna go up this year, yeah.
Yeah, it went up this year.
Yeah.
We were looking at purchasing it last year.
So
and
the
I did
lease
some
is
research
12.
on that, yeah.
The buyout
Oh,
is
the
36.
lease on the skid steer. Yeah. Okay.
And we can sell it for 50. The front end loader lease is 16.
Yeah.
What
So
would-
that would buy us quite a few years of the
So
additional
you're
cost.
saying, Chris, we could keep both, but are you saying that in the next budget year, we would sell it then after they use it, or?
We have the option.
We have the option.
That's
So we
a
would get it
good
at
word.
basically a screaming deal, and then if we decided we wanted to get rid of it, we could turn a profit on it.
Okay.
There is no reason, in my opinion, that we shouldn't buy the skid steer. And that's me taking my passion for a skid steer off the table.
You can't do that.
I know,
Because you want both, right? You
I
want to
do,
keep both.
but the numbers,
Well, isn't it because
It
you
don't
have
make sense.
concerns about some of the snowplow drivers running the front end?
a little, more of just the power of that front end loader. It can wipe out a wall far easier than the skid steer can, but I'm
Just
just
different
saying, from
purposes
a
for
numbers
using it.
standpoint, from a fiscal responsibility, as the stewards of the budget for this city, it would be fiscally irresponsible, in my opinion, not to buy the skid steer because of how little it would be and how much they currently are selling. And our skid steer is basically brand new.
Yeah, the skids now for that same one are $116,000.
Wow.
Retail, governments can get it at 90. We got it for about 60. Caterpillar would love it back. They told me they would take it back in a heartbeat and let us out of our lease right now. And so that just
They
let
would
you know.
sell it in a heartbeat too.
They'd make a ton of money.
He says
So-
it'd be $51,000 to $55,000 without seeing it, and it's in pretty good shape. The thing with doing it in one budget year, so we paid for it in July, and then we decided to sell it next year sometime. There's really not a budget line item we need to go per se in the budget, because we pay for 36,000, we sell it for 50,000. We're actually profiting 14,000, where we're not having to come up with another $36,000 out of the roads account.
So Chris, do you think we should sell it, or are you just saying that's an option? But, because Ben is saying it might be beneficial for us to have both. Are you saying that that would be beneficial, or financially, do we need to sell it to keep going with the way we're going?
Financially, it'd be good to do it in 1 year. As far as keeping it or selling it, I'm not qualified to give that opinion.
And
I think
that's
the
more
i-
public works call, I would say.
I think the idea there is that if we did it all in one fiscal year, so we bought it in July and kept it through the winter, that gives them a chance to operate both of them. I would hesitate to think we would keep both, but we just have to look at budget stuff. I mean, because that takes out of other things that we could spend money on, right? And they would both be doing the same, or could be doing the same thing. So, I it's just thinking out loud right now, but I would think that we could at least maybe try them both for the year and see how they work.
Okay.
And then Ben, you can buy it.
So
That would be awesome.
I do want to bring
Yeah.
up, so I did research in this last year, before I got on the council. Jody had told me the lease was coming up, so I did some research and I talked to Craig, who actually performed a lot of the maintenance on that. And Craig, I want to give everybody up front, Craig's recommendation was to not buy out the lease. The maintenance, because of the conditions that we run that in, the salt that it's in, and the maintenance that was not performed per recommended. Craig did the big maintenance, right? The oil changes and things like that. He didn't do the day-to-day, weekly stuff that needed to be done on that. I tried doing some of it, but I wasn't able to keep up with it either. But it wasn't maintained in a way that Craig felt that buyout was a good idea.
I believe
So-
Craig took another look at it just recently.
So we had an equipment supplier and seller come up and look at it about a month ago, and he was. So when he met me here at the city, and we went down and looked at it, and he was shocked. He said, "I was expecting a rusty piece of crap equipment since it's been in salt," and he says this thing's in excellent shape. So I think, and for those of you who don't know, being an old salt miner, I did it for 2 years. But I'm related to people who have run salt mine for 50 years, where we get from. If you keep equipment in salt, it won't rust. It will stay in great shape. Salt doesn't rust anything. It's when salt gets wet that it starts the rusting process. So as long as it stayed in the salt shed, loading salt, it'll stay in great shape. We won't have any issues with it. It's if it's salt and then wet and then salt and then wet constantly. But yeah, and I know Craig, because I did talk to Craig about it too. It was actually one of his company people that come up and looked at it and had talked to Craig also, and he was expecting something that was going to be kind of a in bad shape, but he was amazed at how great shape it was in. He was the one that says, I think you can get 65 plus for this in the shape
So
it's in.
I'm not saying that we couldn't, but as a long-term purchase, we really want to look at that, because if it wasn't maintained properly and it gets salt into, well, you know, the bearings, right? We get salt in the bearings and it doesn't get cleaned out. And I can go through all kinds of stuff with that because that's my specialty. We could cause damage that's going to come back and bite us later.
Yeah, for the record, I am more saying, let's buy it and sell it next year. Or if we decide that it actually makes sense for it, then we reevaluate it then.
Exactly.
But
I completely
I
agree with
think
that.
And
it
that's
would
good
be
information to
fiscally
have.
irresponsible for the amount of money we've dumped into it to just say, Caterpillar, we want you to have all the profits, please. You know, because we've just given them truckloads of money and then we're going to let them get even more. I think we owe it to the city to pull it back, buy it out, and then turn around and make 20 grand.
It's in
Make
far better shape than our
20
plows.
grand.
When you look at the salt damage to the plows, it runs really, really well. But there are a few issues that I found when I switched over to forks and things don't work.
It needs a good gracing.
Yeah,
it
needs
needs,
work.
but nothing,
It needs to be maintained better.
yeah, nothing too crazy. But that would be my recommendation.
Well, and this will give them a chance to operate both, see which one they like better. Most of the equipment sellers, and I know this is not saying anything against skid steer operators, but they feel like loaders are safer than skid steers. They're more balanced. They're easier to see out of. You have less. They usually have less issues with them tipping and stuff like that. So, but you never know. It is a bigger piece of equipment, so it could make people more nervous. But
When you're
I mean,
loading, we'd be loading directly into a truck, rather than through the conveyor
Yeah.
system that we have right now, which in my mind is there's pluses and minuses to that. That conveyor system needs work right now. But loading into a truck does give us that opportunity to be hitting trucks that's actually gonna cause damage to a leased vehicle that we're gonna have to.
and that's where you'd have to be. I mean, it's like anything. You got to be. I mean, I operated a loader that's about twice the size or 3 times the size of the one we'd be getting for a couple of years when I worked at the salt mine. And I mean, I've never had any. It was never felt unsafe or any issues. You
I've
just.
seen that- I've
It's a
seen that
training.
before, so.
Yeah.
And this lease of the front end loader, that's a new piece of
That's new.
equipment from Caterpillar.
No,
Oh,
it's not from Caterpillar, but it's from another supplier.
Okay.
That
But it is a new piece.
it is a new piece. The cool thing about this one we looked at, so we looked at 2 or 3 different pieces of equipment loaders. They're called compact loaders, right? They're kind of mini loaders. They're like smaller than a regular loader, but a little bigger than a skid steer. They're that middle ground. They I forgot where I was going with that. Anyway,
Bigger than
How-
skid steer, smaller than a
How
big
fast will
loader.
they go? I'm thinking now with the snowplow in front.
Yeah,
Not
I
really gonna
don't know.
race.
We'd have to look.
'Cause
Oh,
that's one
I
of
know
the
where I was
problems
going.
with the skid steer is the skid steer. If we put a snowplow on the front of the skid steer, it would take a freaking eternity to widen the roads.
Yeah,
We need to
yeah.
go faster than the skid steer is able to do.
It'll
That's
probably
for the
go
purposes, right? This is, I mean,
Yeah.
but not a plow, right? A blower, right? Isn't that the
It'd be a
idea?
blower on the front.
snow blower. Yeah, part of the. I mean, with the skid steer, it does great for what we need it for loading salt. But with skids on it, you really can't drive around the city doing snow blowing and stuff like that. With this one, it'll be rubber tired, so it'd be much more convenient to drive around the city. We could get a snow blower for it and widen some of the roads. I don't know how fast it goes for sure. We'd have to look, but
It's greater
w-
than 15 mile an hour. We should be fine.
yeah, and that's and I remember I was going with that, Gary. This is through the reason we looked at Caterpillar's got one about the same lease cost, and there's a few others. The nice thing about this one is it actually has a telescoping bucket on it, so the bucket not only goes up and down, but it goes in and out. So,
Nice.
for example, when you're trying to stack salt, you're not driving up the salt pile trying to get it higher. You can send
Or
your
when
bucket
you're
out
taking it
60
down.
feet, or when you're taking it
It's-
down.
It's scary as all get out. And I've run equipment for 40 years and it's
I
terrifying.
You just hit it and back
So-
up
when that
and watch
salt
it all
comes
just.
down.
So is that snow blower attachment part of this lease, the $16,000?
No.
So-
It would be something we'd probably they recommended a purchase for it.
Oh.
It's about $12,000 or $13,000 to purchase that. Which I don't know what, Brian, we sold over $100,000 worth of equipment so for this year.
10, I believe.
It's about 12 or 13, 14,000, somewhere around that mark. And I think we've sold over $100,000 worth of equipment this year.
We're
So.
already at over 1,500 on the red truck.
Oh, sweet. Well, dang, there goes our extrication idea.
Yeah.
You can still use a service truck. Don't worry.
Yeah. So anyway, that's one of them we're talking about. And I think United Fleet Services Rental could possibly do this for us. That's who we're doing the other truck through.
Okay.
And we authorized enough to cover that and Ted's new truck, so
Yeah.
we had that special meeting. So there's enough on that we wouldn't have to change that authorization side.
Right.
So what do you need from us to be able to, is that the vote tonight will give you the authorization to proceed?
Is there something on a vote on this?
No,
tonight?
this
I
is
don't
just.
know.
Just a discussion, I think.
Information.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the lease, I hate to wait too long on that just because it'll probably go up. But then again, I mean, I don't know how much use we
With the
have.
lead times right now, I'd rather get it moving sooner
True.
than later.
You said you wanted finance to look at it though, right?
They are. They're looking at the lease and I think they've already looked kind of at the lease. Well, I'll take it back. They did talk about the lease in their last finance committee meeting of the equipment. Now, they didn't formally vote on that because at the time we were still looking at equipment. I think they're looking at the sale of the skidster, possible buyout and sell of the skidster is what they're looking at right now. And it could involve this lease. But yeah, like you said, I'd rather move on it sooner rather than later. Just one, lead time to get it here and costs, increasing and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But
you
Brian,
don't
you're
want
saying
not to have
that,
it by
in your
snow.
opinion, this has already been allocated, so.
So, well, we had a special session so that we could, I don't remember.
So if we go through the United Fleet Services rental, who we went through for the chief truck, if we go through them to do the lease, the city already adopted an ordinance that authorized them to allow us to lease up to, I think it was $600,000 worth. So it wouldn't have to come back it's a resolution. It wouldn't have to come back to the city council for a resolution to actually do the lease, but the city should authorize it. We wouldn't have to do another resolution.
Yeah, we still authorized that lease, but
The resolution's
the
done.
resolution's there. They required a resolution to actually enter a lease and to get Ted's truck. So we had to pass that resolution to get the truck, and we needed that fast, so we did that
So
special meeting.
speaking of lead times, do we have plows?
You're jumping way too far.
Should I? Oh, are we talking about that? Should
No,
I?
actually,
Should I give the standard 3 months? But
Anywhere else?
so the plows are all equipped. They're done being equipped, and they are just now waiting on some bank processing to get to us. They're equipped and sitting there, just waiting for some processing of stuff at the bank.
I think it's all done now.
Oh, so that's all done. So we should be getting the plows any day now.
Last forms were sent in yesterday or today, Jody.
So then we are ready then, if anyone has any objections or concerns, I would say now is the time to air them, but other than that, we'll move forward with the leasing process and then get something before the council to approve, but everyone comfortable with that?
Yeah, I think if finance has already discussed the lease on the loader, then we'd be ready.
Yeah, they're discussing it, right? I mean, I haven't seen any response from finance committee on it. We were hoping to get it to them, not necessarily in a formal meeting context, but just get,
Like a group email or something?
yeah, that's how it was sent out. And so, we're looking for the feedback, but
Yep.
it's not necessarily going to be an item on the committee's agenda.
I know there were a couple of comments, weren't there? A couple of them?
So in the last finance committee meeting, we talked about the equipment lease for potentially for a loader. We didn't get into the formalities because at that time we were talking about a few other pieces of equipment. I think with this last round that was going to go out to them via emails, it was in rushing about the lease again, just kind of revisiting that with them. And I think as much as that is, it's focused on also just the whether to purchase the skidster was a lot of the reason going to them too, was to purchase and resell the skidster was something we wanted to look at
So are you
along with
gonna
this.
send it out or have Mike send it out
I think Chris was working on an email.
or?
No,
Okay.
we already sent it out.
It's our, yeah.
Yeah. Did you not get it?
Mm-mm.
Oh,
Let me double check. I thought I put you on there. Let's see.
But
sorry.
some of the emails, like, every once in a while, I just don't get them
I
until
don't-
somebody replies.
Yeah, that's how I am too on mine. Sometimes they just don't come. And then I'll get 'em
Wayne's
later.
old email, I never got them until somebody would comment on the email, and then I would see the comment, and then I could scroll down to the email, but I never got the original email.
Okay.
So it's still a problem for me for whatever reason.
Well, and just to make sure that as far as the steps that
I'm
we
getting a
need
lot
to
of
take,
junk
so I mean, Brian, you mentioned finance committee input. I mean, does the council do we want like a formal opinion from finance committee before we take the next step? Or, I mean, absent any like major concerns, are you comfortable with us taking it to the next step? And
I would be comfortable. I mean, it sounds like that they've already talked about the equipment in a way. I don't know.
We did, I was there.
If, you know, I also don't.
It's not really a
I also-
departure from anything
Yeah,
that's
it's
been
not a
discussed.
departure, but, you know, I want to make sure that the discussions that you believe, and it sounds like Ted believes, that the discussion went and there wasn't any major objections to equipment leasing. Now, the skid steer, I would definitely want their formal input on it. I know we've gotten, you know, we've got Chris and Ted and everybody looking at it, but I think finance, I mean, we really want to use our committees to their fullest,
Yeah,
and I think that they should have an input on this and give us an input and a recommendation
Well, we really have some
on this.
talent on that committee, some
Absolutely.
very smart people.
Absolutely, and that's
So I think
why,
it's good to have them look
but
at
I'd be
it.
happy to, I'd be fine moving forward with that understanding that the equipment lease is, they've already discussed it. And
So,
timing wise, is that where we need to be,
So-
Chris and Ted? I mean, is that?
so maybe what we can do as far as the next step goes is work with United Fleet Services and the equipment supplier to find out, to get kind of the formalities of the paperwork all figured out and what the final leasing documents would look like. And I think, Chris, when I talked to Bodie, I was calling Bodie on another thing on the truck today. And I think you'd already talked to him because he brought it up about, are you guys looking at some equipment to lease? And so I'd mentioned to him that we do, and it's going through a supplier that we were looking at a specific piece of equipment, and he seemed to think we could run it through them. So maybe the next step is I talk to this supplier and just make sure, because they offered a lease option too, but maybe we talk to them and see if we can actually have United Fleet Services do it, because we've already got a resolution through them, and then just start to get all that paperwork in place and see what that looks like, and then we can come back for the final, pull the trigger once we have all the paperwork and the final documents, the terms and all that kind of stuff. Because right now it's just a kind of an estimate of what the lease cost would be.
Janet, did you,
Does that sound good?
that sounds perfect.
What was that, Chris?
Janet, do you have it? I just sent it to you again.
I did get it, thank you.
So we gave them the 3 lease options, just kind of want to get their opinion on the 3 different options. We've got a lease from CAT, a lease from United Fleet, and then a lease from what's called Arms Up, the one that we may purchase the tractor from, and just see which one gives us the best.
Yeah.
Gotten
Okay.
responses yet?
None.
Okay, I'll poke them.
Okay. Yeah. We'll maybe look at those options and come back with kind of a final proposal of, here's the leasing company and here's the terms and stuff like that.
I'll send out a reminder to everybody. Look at it.
Okay, any other questions for Ted on that then? Okay, well then, we can jump to item 8.
Which is still Ted.
Yep, yeah, that's
Um,
you still.
Yes, so we had one other item. Let's see, no, we didn't. Item 8. So wanted to talk about regional treatment. Just a brush by the council. The mayor and I have had some interesting discussions with Elk Ridge. It was actually Elk Ridge that called up, and they are wanting to broach the subject of looking at a sewer treatment facility that would service Elk Ridge and potentially Woodland Hills. As just kind of as a reminder, I know I don't want to tip any hands yet. So,
Right, yeah.
as a reminder, our sewer goes to Payson to be treated. So we are a customer of Payson.
Elk Ridge as well, right?
Elk Ridge is also a customer of Payson, just like Payson residents are customers of Payson's. And we have a contract with them. Because of that, we essentially are subject to what their terms are, in effect. And that's what was making Elk Ridge a little wanting to look at maybe something different in the future. So they called up and we went and visited. We visited with them now a couple of times. They're interested in looking at maybe we'll call it a regional treatment system for the two communities. Potentially could include maybe down the line a portion of Salem or something. I don't know, because Salem has their own. But anyway, so we got talking through the process. It would take some years to put all this together, and it'd be, you know, kind of an expensive thing to build and whatnot. The first step in doing this is to do a study to figure out, does it really make sense for us to do it, and or is there a threshold where it does make sense for us to do it? So, for example, we're paying a certain amount for water to be treated right now, and maybe right now it doesn't make sense, but maybe 5 years if prices keep going up, then something makes sense for us to do. And so this first step is I've talked to the Division of Water Quality, and really the first step is to kind of do a study to see if it makes sense, or what the cost would look like, the timing of it, what kind of treatment facility would it require, and if not now, is there a potential when it would make sense for us to do it? These studies run anywhere between, I'll say, 16 to 120,000, just depending on what you ask for. The Division of Water Quality will provide a 5-year 0% interest loan to do these studies. Potentially could be forgiven or wrapped into a larger loan if it ever turns into a project, but there's no guarantee of any of
Is
that.
that just our portion, or was that the whole?
That's the whole
thing?
study.
So would we negotiate with Elkridge then per population base, or?
So you're going to my
household?
next, yep, that's right where we're headed with this. So we went and met with Elkridge on this, and talked about these costs, and I just threw out a round number, say a study costs 100,000 to do this.
100,000 for the study?
I'm throwing out a round number,
Okay.
roughly. Like I said, I've seen them go, depending on what you ask for, from 60 to 120-ish, and, you know, depending on what level technically you want to get. But anyway, so I just rounded a number off for 100,000. I went through and did some population and some ERCs, equivalent residential connection growth projections for both communities, kind of figured out percent breakdown of what it would look like, contribution to a wastewater treatment facility. Depending on how you look at it, whether it's ERCs and whether our community would just grow from our current connection level, and assuming everything in the future connects to a sewer, or whether we have to start adding existing residents that are on septic, because at some point I think most people are right, the state's going to start cracking down a little bit on putting in public sewer. So I looked at it both ways. If we look at it going from our current number of connections and just growing from here, it's about an 85% Elkridge, 15% Woodland Hills. If we look at it by population base, it's about a 75-25, roughly. So if we went to look at a study like this, and Elkridge is talking about it in their council tonight, they're pretty interested in trying to figure this out. They've had a lot of pushback from residents, and I think they're doing that in response to that pushback of increasing sewer rates. Anyway, our portion of that would be anywhere between 15 and 25,000 over, if we did a combined study over 5 years. So roughly 3,000 to 5,000 a year is what we'd have to pay towards a study. If we went and participated with Elkridge in this.
So the study's not much, then how much would the system be overall? Do we know not until the
Not till the
study's
study's done.
But-
No, that's a hard one to answer. It could be 15 to 25 million.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Well,
Which,
the question is where-
yeah. What's
And
that?
Where would you put it, right?
Well,
That's what's
To be an
spinning in
upgrade.
my
that's
head.
what the study would help us
I
tell.
know the study would
The
determine
Elkridge has already pitched a spot that they're thinking right now, but it's one of those where we'd have to know, fairly quickly, because eventually it could grow out to development. But
But it wouldn't be in Woodland Hills. There's
Wouldn't be in
no
Woodland Hills.
intention of it ever being in
Yeah.
So like, yeah,
It's
Would
got-
they
it's going to
think
be
on that
right
center?
up on top of Broad Hollow.
or south.
Yeah.
it's right up there on the right-hand side on Broad Hollow, right?
Right on, as you go up the
Yeah.
top. Everything goes downhill, so it's
Yeah.
going to have to go down over and up. There's a couple properties they're looking at right now, but we wouldn't know, because that's what a study would help us figure out. Where would it go, and what size treatment could we do, depending on where your discharge options are and all that kind of stuff. So, in my mind, probably the biggest advantage we would have to something like this, one, it would help us answer the question, but two, I don't know how much down the road it would make sense for Woodland Hills, but if, say, rates kept increasing and citizens started pushing back, it would give us a way to say, we've done the study, here's the answer.
I mean.
Or here's the point at where
I'm
we
not
do
sure it
jump
would be
off.
cheaper.
I ran
Well,
some
that's
quick,
my concern too, is that, because even when we're talking doing a study, I mean, Elk Ridge would be in the driver's seat. Ted's got a good suggestion as far as making like a special service district board, like SESD, where we would have a seat at the table, but it's hard for me to imagine that Elk Ridge would ever agree to funding 80% of something and us 20, and then us having 50-50
50-50
split
control,
on
yeah.
decision-making,
Yeah,
so.
no, that's not gonna happen.
But I agree, looking down the road, long-term, we would want to make sure that our position would be better than we currently have with Payson, because, I mean, if we have no say with an Elk Ridge sewer system, any more than we have a say with a Payson sewer system, then it probably is not worth added investment.
yeah. Yeah, and I mean, really, that's just some of the questions, we'd have to look at as a study, what would make sense.
But I think that
And
Ted's
it's-
point about getting that information just as leverage and to kind of gauge the tipping point, it is worth taking. I support that, so.
I mean, 3 to 5,000 over a year over the next 5 years is a pretty small investment on sewer to figure out. In my mind, what this helps answer is if, right now we pay a certain amount to Payson for wastewater treatment. And that cost is going to keep going up, as it would if we were our own treatment plant. But is there some point where if it gets so high, it does make sense? I ran some quick numbers on a treatment plant costing about 20, I think it's 20 or 25 million. And it would be nearly the same cost we're paying now. The might be just a slightly higher, but does at some point say like, rates go up to 105,000 or something, or $105 a month, per rec incentive, then is it saying, okay, now it makes sense for us to do something?
Well, here's an element. A year ago, residents who were on sewer were paying what, $65, $70?
Increased it in order to cover the maintenance that we were going to have to do
Yeah.
by like
but
$25.
even
So I'm just
Payson
looking.
bumped theirs as well, right? So there's.
Right.
And that's
so
when
now
Elk
they're
Ridge.
currently, Mayor, you're at what, 90 a month?
Well, it's rolled into a larger bill, so
It's 94 a month.
Okay, hold on.
94.
Monica?
It's 90. It's 90. It's 90.
Yeah, no,
Hey, Ben.
This made me look especially fiscally responsible because I just pay it without.
The answer to your question, Ben, is it's roughly $94 a month.
So it's 94, 93 right now.
28 of that is Woodland Hills, I think, or somewhere around there, and 60, the remaining 60 something's Payson.
So it wouldn't necessarily be bad either if they found out that we were doing a study. They might, I don't know.
They might not just keep raising the rates all the
Right,
time,
they
knowing
might
that we're
be
looking
more
at other
cautious
options.
in raising the rates is what I was thinking.
Well, I mean, at some point, there's the maintenance of the lines going all the way to Payson. There's a cost to move all that crap to Payson.
Yeah.
And so this is, there is an elimination of that we could see a benefit in at some point. Like Ted says, there's a tipping point on these things and the study, and I think that's dirt cheap for a study of that. I do industrial work and this would be a $500,000 study, easy.
And I think to your point too, Brian, because I would assume Payson there's gravy in their utility rates. I'm sure they're making it, because Lori was saying that Salem actually makes pretty good money off its sewer system. So I'm sure it would at some point potentially, so we're paying for not just the sewer maintenance, but, a new pickleball
Oh, yeah.
in Payson or something like that,
We need
which
one
is not a
here.
bad idea, but,
We need one here.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder also if there's a way we could maybe capture some of the new development of Salem, because their plant, I know, is currently at capacity. I know that Three Bridges is going to have to help pay for the expansion of their treatment plant. I'm wondering if we could potentially have those conversations with Salem and have now a three-way service district.
That was part of our discussion with
So
them
they
as
would
well.
have to get in on the study too, if we were going to include some of their areas that are coming up towards us.
Yeah,
like
possibly.
Bridges or some of these other newer developments.
Possibly.
Because we
mean-
wouldn't want to build it too small if we're going to be spending 25 million.
Right. And the cost is, it's tough to say until you really get into it. The last one I did just before I came to work here, we were doing this for Grantsville, same thing. And the study cost 80 something thousand to do, and the treatment plant was 25 million. Now Grantsville's about double the size of our two cities combined, but you have to build a treatment plant for 75% build out when you build it. So, that's where I got the numbers from for a study. Elk Ridge actually had some preliminary numbers put together a couple of years ago for a treatment facility, and I think their numbers came in at 14 million. So, but anyway, just in my mind now, I told the mayor I'm a nerdy engineer, so sometimes I got to be tempered on this nerdy engineering stuff. But $3,000 to $5,000 a year for over 5 years to me is not a bad cost to figure all this out, and that way at least we've got answers for the community. If this does become an issue, it's not right now, but if at some point it does, we've got the answer.
Just that is worth the money, in my opinion.
Ted, can you clarify that was 3,500, not 35,000?
Oh yeah, 3,500 a year. Sorry, I was building in my separate fee for that.
We'll look at that.
I'll charge that to Elk Ridge.
Perfect.
All right. If there are no other questions on that, we could probably move on.
Not
Anything?
until we have more information.
Mm-hmm. PRV?
PRVs. This is just something I think to bring up. I talked to Chris a little bit about. So I've been working on a asset management plan, as you're all aware, and that includes our keeping our water system and sewer system, and now we have our roads done in AI, which is kind of cool. One day I'll show you that, but in fact, one day at council, I probably just I'll show you the whole asset management plan we're building. It's I think it's coming together fairly decent. One of the steps in doing that is going through all of our PRVs and verifying their settings, checking the equipment, making sure they're all parts that are working or old, maybe need to be replaced and stuff like that. So I got a cost from a contractor to go through our PRVs. It's about roughly $900 a PRV just to go through the whole things. They'll take pictures, do settings, make adjustments, look at aged equipment.
How many do we have again?
So we've got 27 total, but 6 of them are new. So those ones I'm not too worried about. But I would also like to get all this information in our asset management plan, so we can build a maintenance program for them. This would be the first step in that. In talking, I think with Chris, and I hope I don't misspeak here again, I think we've got budget in our water to be able to tackle this. It'd be about, so roughly 18,000,
Yes.
19,000 to do all of our PRVs, to go through them all. I've got a contractor lined up to do it. One of our on-call contractors that we're working on a contract with. So we went through the public process to select them.
Wouldn't that be cheaper than if we end up with failures and have to replace?
Yeah, where this started. So when we replaced,
We avoid one.
when we
Well-
replaced the hydrant down there, I was down in that PRV shutting off the system, and I noticed that one, there was a missing gauge on the upstream side, so I didn't know what the upstream pressure was, and two, the downstream pressure was 120 psi, which going out of a PRV, in my mind, is too high because that's your starting pressure, and then as you go down the hill, it gets much higher.
It's worse.
So I was pretty nervous, and that's where that started this whole thing. I'm like, we got to figure these PRVs out before we end up with some pretty bad failures.
Well, and be able to tell the residents, because sometimes it's the PRV on our side, and sometimes a lot of residents don't realize they are required to have PRVs both on their lawn systems as well as their house, and they don't know that they were supposed to
No
replace
PRV
them
on the
every
lawn.
once in
Not
a
on
while.
lawns, they
Not on
don't,
lawns.
but backflow preventers on lawns, but not PRVs.
I know some of them do, but
Those are,
yeah.
you have a
I was gonna
PRV on
say,
your
yeah,
yard?
there's several people who have them on their lawn systems.
Really?
They're not required on lawns, they are on the house.
But several people have them, and so I guess it's just that people don't realize that they do wear out. And so even though we require them on the residents, it's easy for them to blame the city. And if we have this asset management, we say, okay, the city's up to date, we've done all of this, it must be your system. What do you know?
Ted did a little thing on it last month, but that doesn't mean everybody read it, right?
Yeah.
We did a little reminder to citizens that they needed to.
Check their PRVs and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And
Well, and I think
So,
it's something that's just foreign to them. I mean, right?
Till it fails.
Yeah, till it fails, then it
But I
becomes
mean,
very
to check
unformed
it,
when
I
they're,
mean, you check your, I mean, maybe that's part of it is that, okay, we have our winter checklist, our summer checklist, right? Did you change your filter on your furnace, and did you cover your water pipe thing at the street level, and then in summer, did you check your PRV valve?
Well, that's the hard part about a PRV is there's no way to check it. You can look at it all you want, but it's you just have to mark it on the calendar and just replace it.
Right. And if
Yeah.
you bought your house used, you might not have that information. And I know
True.
that sometime Corbett was going around testing people's for them to see if they needed replaced, but I don't remember how
That
that
sounds like
worked.
a liability.
yeah, I'm not open to that, but
I don't even know how you would.
I don't even know how you test them. I don't know what he was
It's
doing to
either
test
something
them.
that works or it doesn't.
It's either you got the right
Yeah.
pressure adjustment
Well, maybe that
and
was
that's
it.
all it is.
Maybe that's what it was just showing them how to check it themselves.
You know, it's just if anything goes wrong, it's the city's fault.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
Okay. Thank you so much. Bless you.
so if that's okay,
That was your
sorry.
finishing.
That was my finishing
remark.
remarks there,
Ta-da.
yeah.
Okay, thanks, Ted.
Oh, can I just one other thing? So we've got an amazing staff, just real quick. I don't know if you guys heard, but we had kind of a water issue today, emergency. And we had the perfect instant command system set up. Jody running the office on the computer system. Wayne was operations up there searching for the water. Lori was logistics, bringing keys up to the well house so we could get in. So ran smoothly. We got the water shut off, but we're still working on it. But amazing staff.
Amen.
Awesome.
All right, Wayne, you're up.
Hard to follow that.
Yeah, well, start with a sneeze into the microphone.
I just wanted to inform the council of a couple of ordinances that we're working on, and there was a copy of each is in your packet. One has to do with short-term rentals, less than 30 days, and the other has to do with detached accessory apartments. We've had a number of inquiries from people, and right now we don't have an ordinance really on either one of these. This detached accessory apartments allows on the same lot as our single-family lot to have an apartment on it that the person can rent. For what you're seeing there in your packet on the detached accessory apartments is taken mostly from the state statute and the city of Linden. They have a rather extensive ordinance on accessory apartments. The short-term rentals is kind of a follow-up with doing away with our ordinance that doesn't allow for, and it's a result of the state mandating that cities can no longer prohibit short-term rentals through the advertising process.
But we can still not have short-term rentals.
You can,
I did check
yes,
on that,
if you want, if that's what we want to do.
So why do we think that we need them now, is what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
The idea is to allow them to accommodate short-term rentals, provide income for some people who that would be beneficial to in our city, and kind of companion a little bit with the detached accessory apartments. Right now, you can't have a detached accessory apartment. We don't have an ordinance for it, but the ADUs require a common wall with the home in order to put an apartment in the home. This would allow standalone units to be built on the same piece of property. And there's some rather stringent requirements. It has to have the same setbacks and ties into the accessory apartment.
So with the container one that they started, Ben, your friend, would that one work?
It would. It would
It meets the
qualify.
code,
If it's
Yes.
code.
I learned that it was actually built as an apartment. It wasn't built as a container. It was built as an apartment to look like a container. So it's all done inside. It's got plumbing and so forth to accommodate that sort of thing. But the apartments ordinance would allow, for example, a couple who are advanced in years and have a big home, they could move into the apartment and rent their home out. They wanted to do that. Or have their kids come back and
Well, your
stay.
kids can stay in there already, because we already had that it's if your
Yeah.
family, it's no big deal.
But this
But,
would
well,
give-
it is a little big deal because we're asking people to give us an affidavit that they're not going to turn it into an ADU. And that's our,
Right.
that's
But I
our
meant
concern.
For family, we've never had to have permission to have your family stay in your home.
Not in your home,
That-
but,
Or
but
your
in a separate
accessory.
unit, we've drawn a line
So,
there.
a detached.
Yes, a detached unit. So this would accept that and would go through a licensing process, which other cities have done to control that and help monitor those kinds of constructions. So what our plan is, this in May, as part of our council or commission meeting, we will have a public hearing, get any public comment from anybody as these are published, and then maybe tweak what we have a little bit, and then come back to the council with a presentation on those two matters and wherever you come down on.
For
Sure don't
me,
like the STR.
I'm okay with the accessory dwelling part of it, but I don't see why we need to go forward with short-term rentals. There's the more and more cities that I talk to, unless they're a resort community, they're nothing but problems for them. A lot of,
Even resort communities. It's a
yeah,
problem.
it's really, you're adding in law enforcement issues, you're adding in parking issues, you're adding in destruction of neighbors,
People
noise
speeding
ordinances,
up and down the
speedings,
roads, not
yeah.
respecting our fire ordinances.
just a lot of things with short-term rental that we're not a destination location,
Can
so,
we do short-term rental per zone?
yes.
You
Some cities
can,
do
but
that.
all of our zones are residential. So,
You couldn't
But
do,
you could put an
say,
overlay on it. That's what some cities, like,
Uh-huh.
they're, like, some of what St. George did was they have sections that are, okay. And I think Chris has that near his home where one section is zoned for
For
Airbnb
short-term.
type stuff and then regular
The
residential.
reason I ask is
Yeah,
I wonder.
That's what I was remembering you
per-
telling me.
You know, the lot that Larry owns, you know, I actually am for this if we could say allocate that area, because if not, he probably wants to do some sort of short-term something to extend, you know, his Marriott conglomerate thing going on there. And that would be a phenomenal way for us to generate a decent amount of revenue for the city and entice him to keep that land in our city versus annex it into Salem.
So is there a revenue stream from short-term rentals? I actually. I mean,
Massive.
Is there? Okay.
Well, because it's a business, so it will be it's taxed as 100%.
hospitality.
But not all
If there's a
services are taxed.
hospitality
It's a
tax.
So it would,
hospitality
so
tax.
like an Airbnb, they do tack on that
I
hospitality
have,
tax.
I have an
Yeah, I know, I don't,
Airbnb,
so-
and I pay, out of them, I pay a hospitality tax and then a local, they have two taxes, there's a hospitality tax and then, can't remember
A
what the other
local
one is,
property
but
tax,
there's
right.
two.
and do you rent through Verbo or?
Both,
Okay,
Airbnb
and
and
they
Vrbo.
do that for you then?
They take it all out off the
Okay.
top and they pay it at the end of the year, so I don't have to pay anything to Idaho because it's all taken care of.
And every year down here, we get statements, or we have to fill out that this is our primary residence, otherwise we do not qualify for the primary resident tax exemption, property tax exemption. So the city
Yeah.
can make some money off the property taxes.
Right, because it wouldn't be their unless it's their primary. But I'm not in favor of short-term rentals. I'm in favor of the ADU proposal. And as we listen to it a little bit longer and see if we need to tweak it at all, but I can see where the ADU would be beneficial to our city, especially if it's, like you said, an older person who says, I can move to this smaller unit, rent this out. Or I know other areas where people, oh, we're going to go on a mission, so they rent out that and put their stuff over here for a while, or they're coming and going, or their family stays there. I can see the apartment part would be beneficial, but I don't know about the short term.
I think so I'm on the board of the HOA in Yellowstone Acres. And the people that don't rent are very, very angry and have many, many, many complaints about the people who do rent. And it causes a lot of animosity, and I can see a lot of the citizens getting pretty angry about it if we were to allow STRs. So-
We can certainly table it and not pursue that further at the time being, if there's a general feeling. I mean, we don't want to put a lot of work and time in it and come back and all the council says, no, we don't want it. So we're
I
flexible
prefer-
with that as to your wishes and so forth.
Well,
On
so
it as
right
well.
now, I got a sense as to where you stand on this.
So
And Doral's
I-
the swing vote, and he's not
But I
here.
like the ADU.
Potentially.
I'm looking at both sides of this because.
And I'm not trying to put you on the
No,
spot
no,
to make a
no.
decision
No,
right
the-
now
the
either.
city.
I'm an
we-
STR owner, so I'm
yeah.
not necessarily opposed. I'm just
We-
saying citizens
Right.
will be.
I agree.
We have all talked over and over again about revenue and how we are limited in revenue. And I think that if we just say no right off the bat, that we're doing the residents of Woodland Hills a disservice. I think that it needs to be looked at. I think that it needs to be, I think that we need to find out what the residents are really, how against it they would be.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask is, have you gotten resident input on this?
Well, they
at
don't
this
know
level?
about it yet.
No,
I'm just saying though, that it's something.
not on
somebody
that.
said
We
or
have the
people
accessory
said.
apartments, but not on the short-term rental.
Gotcha.
The other thing we might want to consider then is, does the revenue that we bring in offset what we would need to be spending increase of law enforcement?
Yeah, law enforcement.
Because that's one of the things that comes up a lot in other cities that talk about this, is the increase in law enforcement. Whether it's the calls in the night because of it's too loud, or there's parties, there's a lot of alcohol a lot of times in those short terms. People think
It
that it's
depends.
okay,
It
and
does, and we've
or
had,
parking, but
depends.
parking
We've
is
had 'em
really
here.
the number one.
we've had them here.
People
I
have
think
had
everybody
them.
knows that people have done short-term rentals
Yeah,
and are probably still doing it.
I could name a few, but I
And
won't.
there, I really like.
No more naming names.
I really like what the planning commission put together, because if you look at that, there are specific call outs in there that they have to post, that there are rules that are posted, and it must say that there's no open flames, that it must say, there are a
Right.
bunch of things that are in this plan so far that would help with those that are already doing it.
so,
Right.
and here's the thing too, like, just as an STR owner, we're in Yellowstone, but I don't rent during snowmobile season, because during snowmobile season in the winter is where you get the destruction of the cabins, the parties, the alcohol, all the issues, trashing of properties and stuff like that. The rest of the season, you get families who are respectful. They're just taking their family to Yellowstone National Park. So, Woodland Hills, I don't think we're gonna draw the partiers. I just don't. What would be the draw for partiers to come?
Well, a lot of
One of the things
students.
that I've had discussions on lately
I
a
don't
lot, now that
think
I'm
so,
on
'cause-
PTR, is dark skies.
The price is gonna be so high for
So
an STR up here.
yeah, it absolutely is, right? I mean,
Students aren't gonna be able to afford it.
And
50 of them come in.
one of the benefits that we wouldn't get from, say, dark skies is the tourism. Tourism to Woodland Hills makes us $0, right? So what's the benefit of dark skies? I see it as bringing the right kind of people to Woodland Hills, making them more interested in our city, making our city sellable. But this might also be a revenue stream, a revenue that could actually help the city. I also don't want a party house next to my house, right? I don't.
But
But I think as a council, we're doing a disservice if we just say no because our personal feelings say no.
so just to give you an example, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, I get $425 a night, sometimes more. So up here, the size of the homes, they're gonna go for over $500 a night.
How much of that comes to us? I mean, what's the percentage?
Oh, a
Of-
small
of
portion,
that.
but my point of that is that college kids aren't gonna pay that. They can't afford it. They're They're not gonna come up here. I just don't see partier people coming up here. But I don't like the idea of a lot of strangers that don't live here. I worry about the fire aspect. That's my biggest concern, is that you're gonna have people lighting bonfires and stuff.
Well,
because
what-
they don't.
Call outs for fires for people that were renting. I was just gonna bring that up. And-
Yeah, it covers that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
$500.
But the thing is
That's
I
not
think that
much.
what I would suggest is instead of just tabling it, I would suggest talk to your constituents and get a sense as to what the residents want. And I would say we should move it forward for discussion purposes. I don't want to waste your time, but it seems like there's at least enough interest in having a meaningful conversation about it.
And we could put it on a public hearing and see what comments we get from that, if any. And then,
We could post it on our
It needs
page.
to be, I think if a public hearing needs to be posted so that people, we get more.
We could send out an Everbridge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just think. I
You
think we
can,
need- I think we
right?
need-
going to.
You didn't even know you had that
It's worth it
power,
of
but.
a more in-depth discussion than just
Absolutely.
posting the regular planning commission agenda.
Right.
Because people look at that and they say, oh, they're just checking.
Well,
their
we need to let them
subdivision
know there's a
registry.
discussion, and that's why I'm saying maybe because it would affect everybody, so maybe we can.
this
that's
is
always
gonna be
posted
one that-
separately from
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
notification, so.
Yeah, I think it's
We'll
a
pursue
kind
it
of a
forward a
fundamental
little
Janet,
bit
you're
there.
on that.
change, so, okay.
Post that about
Okay.
the,
I mean, and I
When the
can
public
coordinate
hearing
with
is.
Wayne, and I can even put it in the newsletter or something, and we can post it on the page.
Okay,
what day is that public hearing going to be?
it'll be the third Wednesday of May.
Which is what?
Yeah, and I would push more for me is a special area that would be granted short-term rental. I
So
would
the
I would
15th.
not be
May
in
15th?
favor, just for clarity here, of a citywide option for short-term rentals.
So
I
what,
just-
what area are you saying?
I'm just thinking
Just right
from
adjacent
the
to
development.
bridges?
Yes, I think those will be short-term rentals. It's just a matter of whether we'll get a benefit or not. We're still going to have an increase in police force we get to pay for because that population is coming because of Three Bridges. I think we would be foolish, similar to the loss of the Davis Ranch in the first place, by us saying no, Larry's going to get what he wants. He will annex it into Salem if he doesn't get what he wants,
Right.
and then we're still stuck with it. So
Is that why we're looking at this?
I don't think so.
No.
I'm
No.
bringing this in from my perspective.
Right. But you
I
could
just
do
think
that
it makes
overlay.
more sense to make it enticing, right? Have him see if he can't negotiate and get those types of things that'll actually generate us a daily revenue more so than having Salem get it.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I don't entirely agree that Larry's gonna get what he wants. I think that the roundabout is, I mean, that, he talks as though he can do it with or without it, but I think that
Well,
that is a
I'm not
much
even
more key piece to.
Including that aspect of it. I'm
Right.
just saying the land he owns in Woodland Hills is all I'm considering on this conversation.
I mean, Monica and I, we have an exit strategy. We're gonna live in Vegas, and I wouldn't mind my property being available for a short-term rental, right next to a park and a cross-country ski trail, and
And a pickleball
seriously,
court.
yeah. I mean, I actually, I think there's some advantage, and so
If-
not that I have a voice
if-
in this, other than as a resident, but I think that,
If it keeps Monica here longer by banning this, I might go with that option.
well, she might be homicidal after a few years up here.
You might not like the condition. Okay. For Monica's safety, we may change that vote as well.
Okay.
Very
All right.
good, we'll pursue
Thanks,
it
Wayne.
further.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Update on strategic and general plan RFP.
Kirsten's here for that.
Yeah, thanks, Kirsten, for being here. And Ted, I know you had some information too that you wanted to share, and, so no,
You go ahead.
No, go ahead.
okay. Sorry, we are running a little late on our break.
You're the chairman.
No, it's fine. He's been everywhere I've been. So we had an informational meeting. What was that, like the 11th, I think, or something like that. So a few weeks ago, and had some really good people show up. We're really pleased with the people that showed up to give proposals and the questions that they were asking and the engagement that we received in that meeting. I think it went really well. And it sounds like we've received quite a few proposals. The closing on that will be the 24th. So then at that point, the selection committee will go over those proposals and rank them and get a recommendation to all of you. So I think that's the update for now. Do you want to add?
Yeah.
Thanks, Kirsten.
Thing I was going to add is there's a couple things that need to happen as far as the selection committee. In going through just reading the state process on this, the selection committee or selection group has to consist of 3 or more members, which I think we've got plenty of members for the selection group. The formal kind of process will be each of those that are on the selection group has to sign a waiver. What do we call that?
NDA.
Non-disclosure?
Yeah, NDA.
Yeah. So everyone on that committee will have to sign that disclosure to review it. Once we receive them, the person handling the process also can't be involved. So Jody's going to receive them. I'll take them out and distribute them out to the review group. We'll give the review group 2 weeks to review them, and there's specific scoring criteria in there. They'll score them based on that criteria, and I send them a scoring sheet with it. They'll score them, send the scores back to me, since I won't be reviewing them, and then I'll combine all the scores. They do not get to see the costs, but I will look at the costs when I get all the scores done, and we'll add in their score for their cost. And then once that final is made, basically it just comes out.
I'm to start sweating.
This is the ongoing battle me and my wife have most of the time. So once we get the final scores, then that basically says that's the recommended one. And once that process is made by the group, then the Kirsten will come back and make the recommendation to the council of who they
That's
are
on May
recommending
14th.
on May 14th and for the council's approval. So that's kind of the process we've kind of went through the state code to make sure we're just following that process.
So the one question I didn't think of earlier, is this a blind review, or are they gonna know who?
No, they know who the companies are. Yeah, the proposals they submit we ask for their company information, and you have to have that to know if they're qualified.
I know that as far as having them qualified, but I didn't know if the reviewers would have each individual one.
We
Yeah.
considered it, but decided against it.
Okay.
And the state code doesn't require that
Yeah,
either.
that's fair.
Yeah, doesn't require that. So that's kind of the process with the state code.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It's going to be great. Quite a few people have talked. People are talking about it, excited. So I think the committee's excited too.
That's good.
Kirsten, can I get a name of everyone that needs to complete a disclosure document so
Yeah.
that I can? Great,
And
thanks.
I need to send you those other 2 names. Yes, the other cities. Yep. We have one person from Payson and one person from Spanish Fork that will be on that selection committee that are professional planners who just did this with their cities in the last few years, that those mayors are letting them come and participate in the process and helping the committee make sure that they're addressing all of the issues that may be on there as a resource.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, both of you. All right, item 11, 2025 fiscal year budget discussion.
Where's my binocular? Oh, you got it bigger.
I'm trying to, I really am, but it's not cooperating quite the way I needed to, but give me just a second here. So we were just waiting for 2 last changes, waiting for budgets. Ben was able to get his and Doral was able to get his. And what that actually did was, there we go. Decrease.
Three of the attachments said operational budget, and I can't remember which one we're looking at. The other ones were the past part of the financials. So this one would be the one that ends on
Very
6:30.
end, Yeah.
Yeah, 6/30, 2025.
Yeah, just making sure. I had them all opened, the tabs.
Yeah, I know, there's a lot of budgets.
And that budget there is already outdated. That's the one we went over during council meeting.
Okay.
The budget one. What this has done now, the budgets that Ben has sent in and Doral has sent in actually increased our expenses that we can do. So it gave us a positive $16,724 more that can be expended. And I would recommend we just put that right into the roads. and then we'll zero out this budget right here.
Chris, I'm having a hard time hearing you. You say you recommend pouring that into roads, right?
Yeah, just put that 16,000 into the roads. And then, this will give us a zero-based budget in the general account.
That should cover fixing that pothole on Woodland Hills Drive.
Yeah. Might have to go deep. All right. Thanks, Chris. Any comments or questions on those revisions? Okay. Perfect.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Did we get a quote? So we talked about the chips and how much chips we needed. I know we've got a depth now. Ted, how much, have you gotten a quote on that yet, the chips? Okay, so hopefully that comes within our plan there. I know we put some money in, but we've got to put wood chips in the playground to get to the depth that is required.
Oh,
for
good.
insurance.
So you've gone through, it might be part of
Yeah, that
your
was
report.
what
Oh,
we did
perfect.
during the city council, and we just didn't have we don't have that cost yet. So we estimated, and hopefully we're right there, but we might have
Are you
to.
estimating?
Are we capable of doing that without a boom extending loader? Hey, I'm not sure how I got tagged on anti-loader. I'm pro-loader.
You're just a skid steer fanatic.
Yeah, see?
All right. Thanks, Brian. So with that, we'll move on to item 12. As for personnel, I think Ted captured it perfectly. I think that a great bunch. So I just say amen to what Ted said. So nothing else to report except thank you for those of you who are here. Councilmember Hilliard.
So I actually don't have any update for emergency management, and so I'm hoping I can break a little bit because I know this is our city report and not our county reports. But I did send all of you an email, as well as staff, concerning the open house that is on Thursday this week for the new transfer station.
You must have gone to my spam.
No, it came about 15 minutes ago.
Okay.
Jody, would you be able to throw that onto the Facebook page as well?
It's
The
this
city
Thursday?
Facebook page? Yep, starting at noon. So it'll be an open, there'll be music, entertainment, food, tours, all the fun things. So if you can make it, love to have you. If you can't, we'll be sad and you won't see the cool new toys at the transfer station, but
Oh, so they've
should be
got
good.
additional things that they didn't have when we went last time, which by the way, I thought was really cool. So it's even next level cool, huh?
it's pretty cool. Well, it was things they told you that were coming, but are now installed.
Now they
So
got 'em. All right.
yeah, it's a fabulous facility, and it's a good reminder that it's not just a cool facility we get to use. It's a cool facility we're part owners of, right? And so it should be a fun thing. So that's really all I've got though.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Hutchings.
All right, well, I'll take up all the time that you didn't have a report on, because I've got a lot. Public Works, we didn't meet. Ted did send out a kind of an update on where things are at to the Public Works Committee. But we didn't have any meetings, so nothing really there. PTR. So I've got a lot on PTR. So we had a very long discussion, it was nearly 2 hours, and unfortunately it didn't record. I sent Jody some minutes that I did my best on and probably screwed up royally. And so I'll try to kind of go through a few things and some things that they've asked. First discussion was a lot about water bars. We had quite a bit of discussion about water bars, and what they're asking is May 18th. If we can close the trail to motorized vehicles on that day. Mayor, I understand you are the authorizing official for that.
Okay, so May 18th?
May 18th.
All right.
We're
Just for the day?
just for the day. So what they're attempting to do is try some conveyor belting to put up there, and they're gonna attempt this to see if they can make that work. To something that will actually last.
Would it be a full day closure then? Is it?
Yeah, we'll I think it's gonna be more like 4 to 6 hours. They're gonna try to put a bunch of them in. We've had discussions about the DNR land, and so we're trying to get permission to do this on the DNR land as well, because it doesn't meet US Forest Service standards. We do need to kind of look at some things, and I'm just digging into it. I talked with Jody yesterday, and our plan says that we're supposed to keep things up to Forest Service standards, which our water bars have never been. What Ted sent me is, my understanding, we've never done the large water bars that should be done up there, so we're not actually meeting that standard. I'm doing more research on that. I've got actually a lot of assignments from that meeting to dig into on the specifics of things.
When we had them put in after the fires, the Forest Service is the one that put them in according to their standards. So, so they have been done recently to standard, but
So
maybe some of,
Contractor that put them in.
yeah,
Our
but,
contractors did mitigation basic, and that detail I sent Brian's the same one they sent us. but
yeah.
I don't know
Ted.
if they built it specifically to that detail. but-
Ted.
Oh, sorry. So it was the contractor that was doing the mitigation work for us that built the water bars. The Forest Service sent the standard to the contractor. I don't know that he got it specifically like their standards said. And it's the same one I think I sent to you, Brian, was the one they sent to the contractor. They did go up and look at them afterward, and they were okay with
approved
them.
them.
But yeah, I mean, proves they just said they look fine.
So I've not ever been up there, but what the committee said is they were never to that standard. So it's a 1 foot up, 1 foot down over up to an 8 foot span. So it's actually got to raise a foot and lower a foot. And my understanding of these is, I've done a little bit of research on them, is they're fairly self-sustaining.
Yeah, you don't want to do a lot of maintaining on them once you get them built,
Yeah.
because you start loosening that dirt and it'll start eroding them away.
You
But
have a lot of erosion if you do it
Yeah.
too often. But
Well,
you might
they
want to talk
erode
to,
themselves and wear themselves,
is
right?
Slater, what's his first name?
Mike.
Not Bishop?
Mike.
Yeah, Mike. Is he on the committee
He
to do
is.
that? Because I know with him and his role in DNR might have.
So
done
he
this
is
before.
actually working to try to get the approval of this conveyor belting idea.
Okay,
I mean, they've looked at metal ones and things like that, because it seems like there's always maintenance to be done on these, and they're really more, they should be kind of self-maintaining for a long period of time and shouldn't have to be done every single year.
no,
So
it
that's
shouldn't.
a problem.
Yeah,
and they set that standard as a guideline. So I don't hope the parks, the PTR committee doesn't think that. I mean, they probably weren't built to that standard, but the Forest Service didn't ask for them to be. They just kind of sent that as a guideline of, here's something what they should look like. So
Okay, so.
I don't know there was a standard,
What I
but
told him is, on DNR land, we can't do anything but what Forest Service standard is, and I gave them that. So, Mike is working on getting permission to do something else
I guess
there.
just my point is, I mean, 'cause I build these all over my land in Idaho all the time, roads and trails and whatnot. I have 100 acres, so I do it a lot. But if you disturb the land too much, erosion,
Yeah.
it's really a problem. So, and I know if you get really ultra sensitive to, every little thing being right with the committee, they might miss forest for the tree, right?
Yes. So,
I mean, the
again,
tree, the whole
they-
thing.
They do understand that the fall is when we really want to do this, and because of the early snow, we missed it last year. And we wanted to leave it open for hunters, and then wanted to get to it after that, but we got the early snow, because we want to have time to settle down and pack in. And so that wasn't able to happen, but we shouldn't have to do this every year or every 2 years.
Right.
Right? These should be, so they're looking for a more sustainable option on that. So they're asking for the 18th. They set a work day for that day and asked if we could close it just to motorized vehicles, because they'll be able to walk around. It's really just motorized vehicles they're trying to get, because they'll be digging and everything else, but pedestrians can actually walk.
Okay, and do we have signage that,
You could pull a chain
So,
between the two bollards I
There's a chain
installed.
up there. Don't know about the keys and where those are at. Ted, I don't know if you have those. You might have to go up with a
That
big
little
wand.
basket of keys going.
yeah, I've got like a whole, yeah, it comes, you can walk
But
But
also
again,
then
they figured
messaging,
out
I
that-
guess, too, messaging through the
Yep. The
newsletter and other
motorized
things, right?
vehicles is,
One day.
again, another thing that's gonna wear these things down much faster. Limiting it to the smaller ones,
Helps.
I believe is going to help quite a bit. So those are up, as you guys know.
The 18th will be here soon.
Yes.
Yep, just a few weeks.
So they're not trying to do everything. This is just a trial of this. So they're thinking 7 or 9 of these things and give it a try and see how it looks in the fall and see if that's a viable option for us or not. They have asked for the council to kind of think about taking the bushes out at the mailboxes and replacing it with rocks. They are also wondering, are the sprinklers working at the mailboxes in the roundabout? And asked me to bring that up today. I said I can get with you later on the sprinklers. I don't know if we've turned
The
anything on yet.
beautification committee, which is part of PTR, really wants to rip out those ugly bushes.
You're talking in the middle of the roundabout, or?
No.
By the mailboxes.
Yeah. So there are some people that want them out of the roundabout, but no, they're talking about the mailboxes specifically and put rocks in. So that is something up for discussion. So I was asked about how the council would like to see the dark sky committee kind of give us something. And so what we kind of came up with, I said, why don't you put a presentation together that you can give the council, and we'd like to do that at our next council. And have the BTR committee do a presentation on dark skies, but what they're asking the council to do, and I did the other night while I was there, was bring up all your questions. All the things that we want to know from a council aspect about dark skies. We want to get those questions to them. They might not be able to answer them right there, but they'll be able to research them. I gave them some examples. Ted? I like that.
Yeah, no, this is, it's like he's interviewing you.
Yeah, he's earning his way back into the group. So if you're interested, there was a guy who was in our RFP meeting for the strategic and general plan. He is actually on the state's commission for dark skies. He's the one that helps communities get their dark sky certifications. He was willing to come and meet with the PTR because I suggested they would love to talk to him and pick his brain because he knows all the rules, the regulations, what's required, all that kind of stuff. I think if you're interested,
Absolutely.
he offered.
I really think they would.
That would be,
Thrilled.
that would be
They would love
great.
it.
Well, it would give
So-
them some framework too.
I don't know if you
Yeah,
knew
I would.
this when you recommended, but Judy Piquel has actually done dark skies in other places
I
before.
did.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
probably
she's
why
told,
you recommend. So she's going to be a great resource.
she told me that she.
Council, because he would be able to answer any question that, they would have.
Yeah, if you could get me that information, I'll invite him to our next council meeting. Maybe he can help with that.
Let
I
me
would
just say,
PTR first
Yeah,
and
beforehand.
let them figure it out and then.
Okay, I can propose that to him. That would actually push things off a little bit.
the one thing that I think we need to be really attentive to is similar to like short-term rentals. I mean, when I hear dark skies, I've said this before, I think it's great for our brand in a lot of ways, but I have real concerns and misgivings about friends of mine that have pickleball courts. I mean, are they not going to be able to use their light, or not pickleball courts, basketball courts, or, some other outdoor lighting that I think that if we're going to start telling people that you have to shut this down at 8 o'clock, we need to make sure that that is a well-considered resident-wide.
Most cities say
opinion.
it's 10 or 11.
Yeah.
Most of the cities that do have dark skies, they still have lights.
Right.
Some of them are cones, so it goes down. Some of them, if it's like jelly lights and stuff like that, it's 10 or 11 at night. Okay, shut them off.
I think it's important that these not be very backward-reaching, very
Controlling.
burdensome sort of, yeah. Because that could fundamentally
Right.
change some real investments that
I
people make in their
asked,
properties.
I actually asked them if anybody has ever found out, does the light pollution from Salem actually take us out of dark skies? Right. We don't know. Nobody knows that. I mean, we can think not, but.
Separate. I think it's
No,
based on the
it's,
community.
you still have to have a certain amount of dark sky, and if you're, you could be in a, in the middle of the city and everything's dark around you, you can't be dark skies, right? Because you've got all the light pollution there. So that needs to be looked at. What is the, can we be fined? Can the city be fined, or can residents be fined? What are the issues that they've, the other cities? I want to talk to, I believe Heber City is dark skies, Moab City is dark skies.
They still have all their
Melbourne City is dark
commercials, they still have
skies.
hotels and motels
And
with
I would like
lights
to
on.
talk to their council,
So
I'd
there's-
like to talk to
there's
their
lots of
code
different
enforcement
things
officers
that-
and see what problems that they've had. So what we want to do, what they want is us to have all these questions, right? What you're thinking, what I'm thinking, and ask them the questions so that we can get the answers. Now, maybe we'll push this back. Right now, we'll plan it for, I mean, they're asking to have it next council meeting, and with this new information from Ted, we might want to push this back. But I'll get back with the council. I'll talk with Jody, and if it's on the agenda, it's going to happen. If it's not on the agenda, we'll push it back. So they do have a presentation on a pickleball court. And what I asked them to do was put more options together. Some other ideas, some basketball co-use, a flat place where some of our residents have difficulties at the park could actually utilize the area a little bit more. So they're going to put a broader presentation together, and then we're going to set up a time for the city council to review that. They've looked at pickleball courts. It's not just as simple as pouring some concrete and wrapping a fence around it. They've talked with other cities and learned from the other cities' mistakes. And so they've actually got some good information there. We didn't get it on the agenda today, but we did get co-chairs. Sherry Berger and Dennis Lisenby are going to be co-chairs. And Judy Piquel will be the secretary, but we'll get that on the next agenda so we can vote for that and approve that.
Which one was chair and which is vice chair?
Co-chairs.
Oh, they're just co-chairs, so Dennis and Sherry.
And Sherry, yep. And then I talked with, I had talked with them about doing the inspections for our park that Ted got from Chris. They believe that it should be done by someone, by an employee of the city rather than a volunteer. But Ted and I are going to have more discussions on that offline.
This is getting our playground.
The playground inspection done. So it was a long meeting. We stretched that one out quite
Yeah,
a
you
bit.
broke 2 hours down into, I don't know, 8 minutes or whatever you took just now, so.
My last one's planning commission. Again, I missed that. Wayne went through everything. So the one thing that Wayne didn't mention that they're talking about that I just wanted to bring up was smaller kind of portable accessory buildings. They're discussing that as well, less than 100 square feet.
Tiny houses.
No, not tiny houses.
The EDU.
These are storage
Oh,
sheds.
storage shed.
So these would be like rake sheds and hoses and stuff like that you could put up against the house. Right now, there's setbacks for that, and so they're discussing that. He also kind of updated the team on the general plan and the committee that's working on that, and the RFP and having possibility of having Severin kind of liaise with the planning commission as well. So that's what I've got.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, Doral is not here. Councilmember Lund.
Okay, so, just finance committee, we haven't met lately, but we do have that email from Ted, so I'll remind everybody either tonight or first thing in the morning. I'll send out a little reminder, or I'll just look at it and comment and give everyone else to comment too. Just give them a good poke so we can get that reviewed. Communication team, I think the newsletter's looking good. Everyone's been submitting. I've only had to remind a couple of people, but everyone's done a really good job getting everything on time. I really appreciate it. I've gotten some good feedback from citizens. They really like it. They feel like it has a lot of good information in it. So, I wish I had a better feel of how many people actually are voting it. It's kind of hard the way we send it to know.
It's not constant contact.
No.
Well, we know that Everbridge has some options.
Yeah. I might
Did you
have to
read
just-
this?
Might have to do some digging around in there for that one. And then events and volunteers, we did just have the Maple Festival. It was awesome.
It was.
Wow.
I think
Wow.
almost
Yeah.
everybody in here was there, so that was.
They estimate there was probably close to 2,500 people.
Yeah, it was huge. I was really surprised at what a great turnout.
Yeah,
I
so
missed
that
it.
was really good.
So when Janet said almost everyone in this room.
I was the one that wasn't, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
But but it was real, Jody was there, Wayne was there, everybody, it was a really good participation. I was really impressed. I made a point, I wasn't there to set up, but I was there in the morning and I went around and just kind of told everybody thank you, like the vendors for being there and everything. And they were all, it was all very positive feedback. They were all really happy. They all seemed to, they had good foot traffic at their booths. and everything.
Amanda does an amazing job of getting that organized and put together. Amanda
So-
Thorne, she's amazing.
Yeah, so it was a really great event. They're having tomorrow, the Wits are having an open house just for the volunteers that worked that day. And the people that worked, I think. a
The
lot
whole
of hours.
season, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they wanted you to invite you, Mayor, and, myself.
What day is this?
It's
Tom-
tomorrow.
tomorrow,
from
6 to 7.
At the Wits.
Yep. For all the
I can send
volunteers.
you a little, I have a thing, I'll send it to you.
Okay, yeah.
And they're just gonna, some of us are bringing food, I have volunteered to bring some food, and just like snacks. So,
Yeah, kind of appetizer stuff.
yeah, they're just gonna have a little open house, a little thank you. Yeah, and so they did a great job, no complaints. And then we have the Fire Expo coming up, so we'll be posting some of that. You guys always just do it, but if you need anything, will you, reach out, let me know. If you have something you want me to post on the page, or you can give it to Jody too, she can do it, or Lori, but,
And that's not this weekend, but the next weekend.
yeah.
May 4th.
So do we have a sign?
Yeah, I gotta get the sign down. Maple Days is over. We'll get the
Okay,
Fire Expo sign.
all right.
I gotta get the date.
And it's 10 a.m.?
So on that, so.
Is it 10 a.m.?
It is 10, well, it's 10 and 11. 10 o'clock is gonna be a push-in ceremony for the new engine. That is
Oh, yeah,
a
you guys are doing that?
traditional,
Oh, good.
Oh, fun.
ceremony, and we really, really, really want all of the council and the mayor to be there for
Okay.
this, for the ceremony at 10 o'clock here at the station. We definitely want to get that out to the citizens because this is a big part for our city, so.
Is that because you want us there or the engine's heavy?
You are pushing.
Because the engine's,
We're putting all the council on the front of the engine to start pushing, and then we're just gonna let the brakes go and see how you.
Just right down Woodland Hills Drive.
We're good.
So, yeah, if we could get everybody there here at the station, downstairs at 10 o'clock for that push-in ceremony.
Okay, that would be
And
fun.
the expo will actually start at 11. We've kind of condensed it because it always seems to drag.
Do we want the citizens there for the push-in ceremony? So,
yes, we
so wouldn't we
absolutely-
then just start the expo? Because we wouldn't want them to leave and then have to come back at 11.
Well, it's being held up at Lortzen Park. The
Oh.
expo's actually up at Lortzen Park.
Okay.
Push-in ceremony's got to be here.
Okay,
So,
have time to get everything ready.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
so it is two separate things. The push-in ceremony won't take that long.
So we'll push it in and then drive it
Then
out.
drive it.
Okay.
And maybe this would be, because one thing is that we haven't had as much interaction as we wanted on the Fire Expo the last couple of years.
Yep.
So maybe this would be a test, maybe we can send this first one out to Ellen Bridge, can we do that? And just see if we can maybe get some more people there?
Anything you do to promote it.
Yeah, we definitely really want to promote it.
I think we try and use that other system he was talking about.
Okay.
At Nexla?
Yeah.
What is it?
But what was the event?
Nixle.
I thought that was
Nixle.
primarily
A
just
texting.
templates. Was there another?
No, so what, if I understood him correctly, what we could do is do, you know, HW Expo, right? And you'd text that in, and then you'd get notifications. And so Janet would actually be able to sit there and text anybody who's jumped in on that event's text group. She could say helicopter landing in 10, right? And that would all go out. Hey, lunch or breakfast now, right? And she could actually do almost an agenda.
Woodland Hills Days, Fireman's
step.
Breakfast starting in 20 minutes. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah,
Wouldn't that be cool?
that would.
Yeah,
No, I
so-
think that,
I didn't,
so
I
we
was
should
trying to.
have a discussion about, you know.
He called it Nixil, the
right.
quick text with just the keywords. Yep,
Okay.
it was a quick text.
We'll find out about it. I'll get with Jody, we'll figure it out. Huh, Jody? Yeah. Okay. All right, and then, just my last thing that I have, is just, I need to start thinking about Woodland Hills Days, and, I'm gonna get with Mike and, talk to them, and we're gonna do a little postmortem from last year, and then, but I need to think of somebody, if you have any suggestions.
Do you want us to ask some people to see if they're interested and then connect them to
I'm
you?
gonna put something out there asking for volunteers. I do like to have control. I afford who I pick. But, yeah.
I have asked someone if they're interested in me submitting their.
Right, that's what I was just thinking, we could
That's
ask them
how
if they're
I'm approaching
interested.
it.
Yeah, if
so.
you wanna talk to some people and then we can submit some names. You know, we've had some really good chairs the last, I just feel like we've been really lucky, and I mean, if somebody drops the ball, then obviously it falls on me, so that's hard. So I really am thinking about who I pick. So, anyway, but we've had some phenomenal people, and I'd like to kind of keep that ball rolling. So if you have some good names, I'm just saying who I know is limited, and I will pick out of my ward and my old ward. Don't even think about
There's someone that's not
Did-
on the list.
Did Monica just volunteer?
So I would love more names. So, I always ask for that because I think that would be good. Yeah. And then Maple, I had some people, and I think I was a little bugged, but it's been suggested, and some citizens, we should have people who do Maple Fest do Woodland Hills Days, or, oh yeah, they got all these people. But that's not what Woodland Hills Days is about. And I don't think with our budget, we want to feed dinner to 2,500 people. I'm just saying, I don't think we want to be feeding dinner to people from Salt Lake. Woodland Hills Days is for the people of Woodland Hills.
And even then, we've already got.
Well, and I was
people
really
that are
con-
showing up.
yeah.
With their free J
Right.
dog.
But what I'm saying is I think it needs to be a different focus, right? Like, we need to focus on how do we get more of our citizens there, not how do we bring in all these outside people, because we don't
Right.
want that. It's for.
Last year,
For our
I was
citizens.
really concerned when the band was sending out to their
I
things.
know,
So that really concerned me that we were gonna get
but we didn't
just,
really.
no, it didn't seem like it.
Maybe a couple.
But it scared me.
Well, I know that even for the agenda, I know that, the road was proposed, like even a ticket for residents, something that.
That's kind,
Well-
and we kind of propose that every year.
But at the same time, a lot of people invite their kids or their grandkids that come up and from other cities, or kids who grew up here, right, who come back for Woodland Hills Day because this is their city. So I don't think we want to necessarily be so controlling that it's only people who live here right now, because we do want to make it kind of a homecoming type thing too.
Yeah, no, I agree. But if you did do a voucher type of a thing, I mean, it doesn't need to be a rigidly enforced voucher, but it might deter someone that's just looking for
Maybe they have to bring a copy of their most recent Woodland Hills utility bill with them.
a.
I'd have to find
last
it.
year They did do kind of the sign in, like a check-in, there was a little table and people, before they got in line, they kind of gave their name and how many they had. And they proposed it as we're just trying to get a feel of who attended and how many people we had here. And so they did, I feel like they did do that last year.
Breakfast seemed really low last year.
It was, but see, here's the problem with breakfast, and this comes back to Parks and Trails. But the elderly citizens are the ones that used to really come to the fireman's breakfast, and now
Yep.
it's in the park. I literally every year have citizens say, is it going to be in the park again? And I'll say, yes, and then they don't come.
I struggled, I
Yep.
brought my mom and she had a walker and struggled a lot.
Yeah.
So
With it
My
being
mom
the,
couldn't come either because of that.
what if it's the fireman's breakfast? Can we just have it downstairs?
do it here instead, just the
I don't
breakfast.
see.
Like we
did-
used to.
yeah,
We used to
we've
have
done
it every time here.
Yeah, we
And then do everything
did it
else
over
at the
here,
park.
we've
Mhm.
done it
Maybe we get
inside.
people at the park.
Yeah, because there's enough of a break after breakfast and all the kids' activities and all of that stuff can still be at the park
you
where
could
people
probably
would
Parade
Yeah.
route
go.
was better at the park.
Yeah.
It was
People,
much
there was
better.
no people to watch the parade. I mean, there was
Yeah, but
what,
we
2
looped
people?
Twice before, so it
But
was
yeah,
like
we
you saw the
looped
same
twice
people
before,
twice.
but we had people who were on the parade route because they ate breakfast and then they would just walk around this block and it wasn't that far from their car and it was easy to get around. Last year, it was a great parade route, but there was nobody watching. There was nobody watching the parade.
I do like,
I went through a lot of candy.
breakfast here. I think if we can do that and really see if it made a difference. I mean, we could try it, right? See if it made a difference.
What? Sorry, was
I
I?
like
didn't-
Have the fireman's breakfast here.
Yeah, we used to for a few years. We did that here when I was started on the department, and it's only been the last couple of years we've done it at the park. And I would say it's fairly successful. We would set up tables in the bays up there so they could get their breakfast and then go eat out of the bays. But I mean, that's
But I will say that for everything but the breakfast, I think ours.
Works good. It works good.
All right. I've
Yeah.
said enough.
It works good to
I
have it
think
up
for
there
everything
when,
else, the park is better.
Oh, absolutely. The parking even is better. There's too much traffic trying to go
Right.
through here, and when you have all those cars, I think that's hard.
and the car show has space if Kenner's gonna do it now that Garrick's are selling their place. But,
Plus, it's just such a,
all the
Beautiful
bounce
setting
houses and stuff, and
mountains.
as long as the weather cooperates, that's the biggest thing, right?
it always has so far. Anyway, okay, I appreciate all the suggestions. Good discussion. Thank you.
All right, thank
If you have any names, please send them to me, text them or email, whatever.
Okay,
Great. All right, Carrie, bring us home.
yep. We've
Last-
already heard,
Last before the break, and I've had to use the bathroom for the
Three-
last 45 minutes.
I know.
so,
considering three other,
It's your fault.
3 other people already said about public works, so there's nothing less to say there. Community development, we've already talked about that 2 or 3 times. The RFPs are due this Wednesday, so that will be in place. The only thing I have to share that has nothing to do with those 2 is Congressman Burgess Owens will be here in this room on Thursday at 6 p.m. for a town hall.
Oh, great.
He's meeting with our delegates, so that I'm inviting anyone in the city who would like to come.
So
and all of you.
Thursday, day after tomorrow?
They just want to kind of keep it small unless we get this huge crowd of people, because that is a harder room to talk in if there's only going to be 6 or 10 people, right? So it's easier to start in here, and then if we need to move, we could move. But last time we had a town hall with him, this room was plenty big.
What time is that start?
6 p.m. They're in town to get ready for the convention. For those of you who know that we have delegates from Woodland Hills, we've been meeting for breakfast every morning since March 6th, and have met with every county, state, and federal candidate that's on the ballot for the Republican Party. Our delegates have been very diligent, and this is our final meeting with Burgess.
Oh, okay.
He's running unopposed, but he's in town
Yeah, no, that's great.
for the convention.
Okay, thank you. The only thing I wanted to mention on upcoming meetings is we do have to do the truth and taxation. I talked to Chris about this a little bit, but I don't remember what day we,
In August, isn't it?
no, it would be May is when we would typically do it.
Were we raising our rate?
Truth and taxation is always in August. It's the budget. It's finishing the budget is in May to June, but then
Is raising
you
our
have to
rate?
give notice, and then the county gives notice to all the citizens in July that we are doing something different, and then we do it at usually our second meeting in August.
I'm happy to. Eh? So we don't have to do it in May.
So May would be for the council to vote on that budget we looked at tonight. It's basically a tentative budget. And then if you want to keep the tax rate level, what it is today, then we have to hold a truth and taxation hearing because it is a little bit of an increase. If you want
Which
to.
I was surprised to hear. I thought the level would not require that, but.
So,
Values are still going up.
yeah, so so our rate is going up, our dollar amount is not.
The other way around.
The other way.
Other way
Or
around.
for us to hold our dollar amount, we have to raise the rate.
Have to lower the
We
rate.
keep the rate steady as it was last year.
No, we have to
and
raise it,
because of that,
right?
it will change the
No, we would
amount
lower
that's
the
paid.
value if we want to keep.
The values have gone up, so
Presumably.
even though we're not raising,
The rate.
So we have to do a truth and taxation if we lower the rate as well?
Not if it keeps it level. So, right, I mean, my understanding is if it keeps.
What am I missing?
So-
Not the rate, not the rate.
so-
If it
so-
keeps the amount that people would be paying. So, I mean, if we've got a rate and it stays the same, if the value of their property
people
is
will pay
higher,
more because the
then there will
value
be
is
more
going
out of
up.
pocket for them. And so that's what we're
the
having
rate
to.
is a 0.00014 something, and anyway.
And so if
whatever
we
it is.
keep it consistent, because the county will adjust it based on all of everything, and so
Gotcha.
it'll adjust, but for us
So we're
to
getting,
plan,
we're gonna be getting more
we're
money.
saying we're
We should,
keeping
yeah.
it the
Okay.
same, at the same rate, which then makes it so that it's more, a little bit more than last time, so we have to have the
But we
truth
have
and
to
taxation.
explain it to them
Uh-huh.
so they don't think that we raised the taxes on them.
We didn't raise the
Yeah.
rate, the taxes just went up based on the property values.
Great. I've got 3 things.
Okay, can
And
they
so,
happen after
so
the
that
break?
happens though, if.
I've really gotta, oh, you're talking for an upcoming
For the
meeting.
But
upcoming
did you
meeting.
want
Alright.
him to say what day we're gonna do the truth and taxation in August?
Oh,
right now?
yeah, well,
Is it the second meeting in August or the first?
Well, it's up to you guys. Well, actually, it's not up to anybody on this call. It's up to the county because they can't be on the same night as Nebo School District or any kind of central 911 or anything like that. But we
We
usually
put our request in first, then they can't do it on our night, so that's why I say, I think we picked the 27th, and then that's our second meeting, and then Nebo hasn't picked it yet.
So you
Because
wanna
that's
do-
what we always find, that we have to change our meeting, sometimes not even to Tuesday, because somebody else has already put it in for the county first.
So you want to do August 27th?
Well, it's our second meeting, people will be back from their vacations by then, school starts the week before.
So people. will
Chris,
be
I would
around.
not suggest August 27th. That's a big back-to-school week.
Well, don't we want people to be able to come?
And that's why I would suggest that we shoot for that first meeting in August like we've
13th?
done
What's
in the
date?
past.
I mean, you have more experience on attendance.
I see people are doing on their last vacation that week.
Because the
before.
13th, the school starts already that week. And so kids are going to be back.
Okay. All right, so August 13th then is the recommended date.
I'll be back.
That works for me.
Get ahold of the county and let them know that we're interested in doing truth and taxation.
I'll be around.
13th, if for some reason that's already taken, which I doubt it is, then I'll do August 27th. I
Okay.
think they've also asked us not to have any, is it this meeting, they've asked us not to do any other business, which is the truth. and
Yep.
taxation.
Yeah, that's what they say, no other business but that one, in case there's a lot of public comment.
Okay. All right, 2 things you said.
I said 3.
Oh, 3 things. All right.
Okay, with all the training that we had down at the conference we were just at, I was wondering if we could revisit the social media policy and get that back on the agenda. Also, for the fee schedule for use, we learned that to adjust the fee schedule in any capacity, we must have a public hearing. Hence, I wasn't able to bring this on the agenda today. But I propose that we add for a no charge option to rent the facilities, either the park or the building, verbiage of this sort. To reserve the park pavilion or city center without any charge, the event or organization must meet the following 3 criteria. The event needs to be non-exclusive, non-profit, and be a benefit to all residents of the community. So my proposal there is just to have that on the agenda so that it'll be a public hearing for a fee schedule alteration then.
Okay.
My last one would be, while in the budget meeting I was in for, at the conference, I was wondering if we could maybe talk and discuss a potential parks fee that would be assessed monthly.
I
So-
knew that that was something that you were interested in, and I am in a very compromised position, so I'm saying yes. Let's adjourn momentarily. Okay.
Okay. That's
So-
why I snuck out earlier. I was cold.
I know. It was-
And
Yeah, no more drinking
Almost
for the
wet.
next. All right, so let's reconvene at 8:55. This should be quick. Okay, we will call the council meeting to order. Councilmember Malkovich, will you please lead us, or will you please offer the invocation, and then Councilmember Lunt, will you please lead us in the pledge?
Yep.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful for this day that we have to come before our city as elected officials that are trying to do our best to help bring quality of life to the residents of Woodland Hills. We're grateful for the citizens that we have here and for the beautiful mountain that we live on. Please help us and guide us as we make decisions that regard the health, safety, and welfare of our community. We're grateful for thy blessings, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Everyone, please stand. Repeat after me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, public comment.
Monica?
The visitor from Seattle, care to make a public comment?
You don't want to even tell us where you want to go out to dinner after?
Whatever's open.
Yeah, no kidding.
They're
It's-
disappointed in the length of our meeting. I do know that. I did hear that when I went back there.
Well, considering we had an hour training, I would say not too
Yeah,
bad.
not too bad,
All right.
actually. It's only 9.
This is not a public complaint. All right.
I have a public comment. Kevin Bacon was in Payson
I
on
saw
Saturday.
some.
That was very
I saw
fun.
some film or some photos of him. So.
Yeah, way cool, way
Yeah.
cool.
That was very fun. Those students worked a year and a half on that campaign to get him to come back because they've been keeping his locker as if it was from the movie all these years. And so he came back. The Today Show was there. It was a big to-do for
Well,
Payson.
and I just got an email actually from Express, which is the clothing store, and their whole ad is pictures of Payson High School. Apparently, they gave $200 to each student for their prom clothes. So that's
Isn't
kinda
that
cool.
great?
Oh, that
So
is
it ended
great.
up being a really cool thing for the high school. They just got a lot of
That would have been
Uh-huh.
expensive.
yeah.
Because they're tearing down the high
But they
school
have
next year, so this
pictures.
is why they had him come.
On their
Yeah.
ad, they have that I just got while we were sitting here.
Right.
It has pictures of the prom.
Yeah, all
So
those
he
kids.
actually did end up going to the prom because I heard he
Look
was
at
going
that,
to
Payson
show
High
up, but I
School.
didn't know. Oh, so it's not Kevin Bacon at the prom. He didn't.
No,
show
he
up for
came
that.
in the morning.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
He came in the morning and he was on the football field and it was.
And they did their big not fundraiser, their big service project.
Yeah.
Service
and
project for his
then
thing.
They went and his locker was still there and all the things. So they went and checked out his locker and all the things.
Yeah, just fun for
But I
those
just think that's
kids.
cool, Payson High, because a lot of times Payson only gets negative press. So I just love that our sister community could have some good press.
Yes.
Well said. Okay.
Stepsister.
All right. Well, if there is no further
Ugliest.
public comment or Kevin Bacon commentary, we'll close the public comment portion. All right. Item 18.
I'll motion that we send that to the planning commission.
Okay, a motion by Councilmember Malkovich,
I'll second it.
seconded by Councilmember Hutchings. Councilmember Malkovich,
Yes.
Councilmember Hilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Lunt,
Yes.
Councilmember Hutchings.
Yes.
All right, that motion passes. Items, we can do 19 and 20 if, oh no, they're roll call. 19, resolution regarding the February 2024 fund disbursements.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, a motion by Councilmember Lunt,
I'll second it.
seconded by Councilmember Hilliard. Councilmember Hutchings,
Yes.
Councilmember Lunt,
Yes.
Councilmember Hilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Malkovich.
Yes.
Motion carries. And item 20, resolution 2024-16, the March 2024 fund disbursements.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, a motion by Councilmember Hutchings,
I'll second.
seconded by Councilmember Malkovich. Councilmember Malkovich,
Yes.
Councilmember Hilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Lunt,
Yes.
and Councilmember Hutchings.
Yes.
Motion carries. We do not, I don't have any reason to recommend a closed session, so. Oh, okay. We have one recommendation for a closed session, so,
I'll make a motion to go into closed session.
okay, that's a motion by Councilmember Hilliard.
I'll second it. Brian's seconding it.
Okay, seconded by Councilmember Hutchings. Councilmember Hutchings.
Yes.
Councilmember Lunt.
Yes.
Councilmember Hilliard.
Yes.
You can say no.
Councilmember Malkovich.
Yes.
Okay, we are in closed session, so.
Apologize.
All right, we're back. We can
Motion
get a
to adjourn.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Malkovich, seconded by Councilmember Lunt. All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thanks, Chris. See ya.
We have to sign papers, don't we, Jody?
Do we need to sign stuff? Did we vote on anything that needed signature?
There's like 3 things.
I gotta turn the well back on.
I do want water.
Thanks, Ted.